If you were looking for career advice from a career coach, and he had led teams that have placed over 6,000 pros in 21 industries, worked at the largest Fortune 500 recruitment firm in the world, was responsible for over $50 million of placements of executives, and was one of the top recruiters recognized nationally while serving in the United States Army, you'd probably say he's qualified. This is the Executive Career Upgrades Podcast. Career competition is fierce. If you're a director, a VP, or an executive, this podcast is for you. This is the Executive Career Upgrades Podcast. And this is your host, Tim Madden.
How is everybody doing today? Let me get set up real quick. Welcome to the Executive Career Upgrades Podcast. Hey, if you don't know me, my name is Tim Madden. We help those targeting six figures and multiple six figures find jobs they love quickly, start the new job successfully, and hey, hone in on those critical leadership and development skills so that you can make success easy for yourself, for your teams, and for your organization. I have just a great message for you today. I'm freaking pumped. Hey, we go live each week inside the Executive Career Network, which is, of course, you've been following the podcast for a while, right? The fastest growing career network on Facebook. Check us out. Almost to 10,000 members of directors, VPs, and executives across the country. I appreciate you all. Hey, if you're watching in the ECN right now, hey, say hi in the comments. We are streaming live to Facebook, our friends over at LinkedIn, and on over at YouTube. And of course, we upload and stream after we're done to iTunes, Spotify, and everywhere else on the internet. Hey, do me a favor. If you get any value out of today, share this with a friend. I know this message will help everybody, right? Actually, we'll get into it in a second. But hey, do me a favor. If you're listening on Spotify, I know we got a lot of users over there and on Apple Podcasts. Leave me a review if I give you any value today and share this with a friend, family member, business associate, because I know someone inside your network, right? Inside your inner circle needs to hear this message. Before we get started today, the first offers are coming in for this year. So, hey, a huge congrats to two individuals, right? We're not going to say their name. I will tell you next week because we're currently going through a little negotiation right now. I know they're probably watching. They're going to watch the recording. So, hey, as soon as we wrap it up, can't wait to share the success story next week. So, hey, stay tuned. As always, before we get started, hey, if you need help in your career, right? If you need help finding a new job, starting that new job successfully, honing in on your skills so that you can go from the director to the VP level, from the VP to the executive level, etc., go on over to execupgrades.com/podcast. Hey, let's make 2023 the year, right, that you truly do accelerate your career and make a commitment to accelerate your career. So go on over again to execupgrades.com/podcast, schedule a free career consultation with our team. Let's get started. And man, I can't wait. Episode 65, okay? How mastering your habits can help you achieve your goals. Hey, for people watching on LinkedIn, hi, Mr. Doss and Satish, Tom, I see you guys. Thanks for tuning in today. Let's get started with the episode. Let me actually get out of my chair for a second and stand up, get some energy moving, and then we will get started. All right. Hey, I realized something. And here's what I'm going to do today while we kick this off. Here's what I try to do most of the time. Most of the time, I just try to tell you what I've done. What I've done in interviews in the past, what I've done with my habits, what I've done with mindset exercises just to make myself better, right? So most of the time, 99% of the time, anytime I share anything on this podcast, these are things that I already do or have done to have success in my life. So let's get started. I realized, man, a long time ago, that if I keep going back, when I'm trying to accomplish something, regardless of what it is in my life, if I just keep going back, going back, and make a commitment, your mind will eventually say, hey, Tim's not giving up. We have to figure this out. We have to find a way because he's not going to stop. And it's not like, well, hey, one more time. Okay. You have to get into this mindset of simply making a commitment to yourself and proving yourself right, that you can stay accountable to yourself, because that's the only way, if you've listened to previous podcasts, that you can build self-confidence. Okay. Just like when that alarm clock goes off, boop. Hey, we're going back. Give your mind no way out. You control your mind. You control your mind. Nobody else. You control if you make good decisions with your career, if you take action to get a new job, if you make good, healthy decisions, if you choose good, healthy relationships. You get to decide. Grant Cardone always says, hey, he always says when he's pushing towards something, I always say, hey, I'm going to go one more time. One more time. The thing with this is, when you keep going one more time, the goal is to never stop until you achieve your goal. I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying it again. There was a study done by the Harvard Business Review that literally says making a commitment and sticking to it, you have a 77% chance of reaching it. Now, I don't know what it is for you, right? Money, relationships, personal goals, financial goals, business goals. I'm not sure what it is, professional goals for you. But here's what I do know. If you can make a commitment to yourself and not quit, don't worry about the plan. Don't worry about the blueprint. Don't worry about the roadmap. Don't overwhelm yourself with all of these things, because your mind just goes crazy and then you just quit. Make a commitment to yourself. Okay? And here's the thing. If you can't do that, you're in a dangerous place for your life. There's all these challenges going on right now. Imagine to be that person, ladies and gentlemen. If you can't stop alcohol for 5 days, right? If you can't make a commitment to yourself to eat healthy for 5 days, it's going to be a rough life for you. And I'm hoping if you tune in today, right, or you're listening to the recording, that you can take away some powerful tactics and strategies to actually aid you in your life, because life is all about habits, which we're going to get into shortly. Changing your habits will ultimately alter the trajectory. And if you have a bunch of bad habits, man, if you have a bad habit of waking up every single morning and saying, man, I don't have the job I want. No one calls me back. It's too far to if you just wake up thinking of everything that's going wrong in your life, how do you think your day's going to go? How do you think those habits are going to impact the day? I can tell you what, it's probably not going to be a good day. Okay. Your habits are going to alter, right? And, I got a couple quotes here that I wanted to share with you that I just found extremely inspirational before I get into this. I'm sure most of you by now have probably heard of David Goggins. If not, he's written 2 books. I've read them both multiple times. They're amazing. U.S. Navy SEAL. He says, the most important conversation you're ever going to have in your life is with yourself. Let's pause and repeat that. The most important conversation you will ever have in your life is with yourself. You have to look in the mirror and knows that there's so much more inside of you. You have to realize that. You have to realize that there's so much more inside of you. This is a guy who was 300 pounds and he was doing pesticide, like pest extermination. Okay. To go on, lose a considerable amount of weight, become a Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, Air Force Pararescue, and run what? Guys, you have to look up this guy. He ran 8 ultra marathons in 8 weeks. He's done the ultra marathon, 240 Moab run through the trails, elevation distances of like 15,000. It is freaking crazy. How can a guy whose life is in turmoil, who didn't have a good upbringing, and all of those things, go on to now charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for the speeches he gives to corporations? So again, the most important conversation you're going to have in your life is with yourself, and it's going to happen every single day. You, and you alone are responsible for your life. Not, the gym, your trainer, your college professor, your boss, your spouse, your friends. They are not responsible for your life. Okay. The trainer, if you have a personal trainer, if you go to the gym, he is not responsible for your dedication to your fitness. You have to go to the gym. You have to take the advice of all of the people he's coached to help him become, more fit. Okay. So remember, you're responsible for your life and nobody else. So when you make excuses on why you didn't achieve something, why you didn't do something that's important to you, the only one you can blame is yourself. And while you're trying to make this happen, I know me and Christina have talked about this multiple times, but every single day, if you're taking notes, write this down. You have to watch your thoughts become your words. So that's like number one. The thoughts I'm thinking become the words that I say. The words that I say impact the actions that I do or don't take. The actions I do or don't take is going to produce my future. While it's easy to say that, this is probably one of the most difficult concepts in the world to truly grasp. And if you can grasp this, I assure you, you will flourish in every area of your life. So this year, I challenge you to say, what are you thinking? Because that's going to determine what you say, the actions you do or do not take, and it's going to impact your life. Either you're going to have a good one or just another year. Who wants to have another year? Surely, hey, you ain't watching this podcast if you don't want to live up to your potential. Okay. So what is it going to take to inspire you? What is it going to take to inspire you? Most people set these easy goals, achieve them, and then stop. What is going to inspire you this year to reach your potential? We're all motivated by different things, right? But surely we can all agree on this one thing. So if you've been having trouble, and of course, we'll get into some strategies in a second. If you've been having trouble staying accountable to yourself, here is one analogy that I want to give you right now. And if this doesn't hit home with you, nothing is ever going to freaking change. Let's get into this analogy. Okay. Your kids are going to figure out someday, and you're going to tell your kids, just like I tell my kid, right? That when you grow up, you can be anything you want to be. Let's pause for a second. Let me know in the chat if you've ever told that to your son or daughter. And hey, who believes that, man? I believe that I can be anything I want to be. I believe I can do these things as long as I take commitment, have a plan, and stick to them. I believe that I can freaking accomplish everything. Do you believe that? Do you tell your children that? Okay. You tell them, hey, honey, hey, sweetheart, you can accomplish anything you want on this planet. Imagine your kid coming back to you and said, hey, mom, why haven't you done that you've been talking about? Hey, dad, why haven't you done that? Right? So be careful. Your kids are watching you every single day. Your kids are watching you every single day. And you're telling their kids that you can be anything you want to be, but you ain't going to be held accountable to your freaking goals. That's the leader that says, hey, don't do what I say, do what I, right? Or how's it go? Don't help me out here, someone in the comments, right? A leader typically says, oh, do as I say, not as I do. Who wants a leader like that? Who wants parents like that? So if you're telling your kids and you truly believe that, hey, honey, you can do whatever you want to do. Hey, Riker, you can do whatever you want to do. But then later as they get old, they're noticing that you're not sticking to the things that you said's important. What do you think that's doing for your kids? It's crazy, right? So here's another thing to hopefully motivate and inspire you. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for your freaking kids, okay? If you know you're overweight, but you want to live long, right? So that you can see your kids have children and be a great grandfather, great grandmother. Hey, If you can't get motivated for yourself, do it for your kids. Do it for your kids. Don't you want to be a good role model for them? What are you going to do? You're going to quit and give up on your goals? While meanwhile telling your kids that they can be whatever they want to be. You're going to tell your kids, pay attention in school, work hard, study your homework. And you're going to drink wine every night and go on Netflix and just wither your life away? Man. Be the role model you want for your kids. Do you want your kids to eat healthy? Do you want your kids to prioritize fitness? Do you want your kids to not have a lot of anxiety, stress, and depression? How can they do that without the right tactics and strategies? How can they do that if you're not doing that? How are you going to tell your kid that they can go out and be anything they want to be? Meanwhile, you're in the same job that you hate. You were in the same job for 5 years when you knew you should have been promoted, and you're just complaining about it every day to your kids and your wife. What kind of standard are you setting for your family? Your kids are watching you every single day. And if you don't have kids, hey, your family is watching you on social media. You're talking to them. Hey, be the change that you want. It starts with you. It doesn't start with anyone else. And so many people out there hire personal trainers, get gym memberships, sign up for classes, do this, and never complete it. Is that really what you want your children to do? Probably not. So one thing is, if you're struggling with something right now, maybe it's, hey, to get the motivation to finally stand up, to get the courage to say, hey, I do deserve that job. I do have to go through this, right? Because here's what happens. You have to, this is from Mel Robbins, another good one for you. Okay. You have to intentionally act like the person you want to become. Because your brain is going to see you taking those actions, and then your brain's actually going to change the way it relates to you. It starts to go, oh, wait a second. Tim does love himself. Don't beat himself up all the time. So are you intentionally acting like the person you want to become? This is why so many people have problems with habits and changing their life, because they, and we talked about this last week, but I got to talk about it again. Me and Christina did, because they stay focused on the task and not their identity. We got people this year saying, if you remember the podcast last week, oh, I want to run a marathon. I want to eat better. I want to quit smoking. I want to do this. Their identity, if you say I want to quit smoking or I want to get in shape, if I say I want to get in shape, I'm still telling myself that I'm not in shape now, and that's my identity. Does that make sense? When you try to change yourself doing that, it's so hard. Why? Subconsciously, your mind is stuck in your current identity of not being the thing that you want to do. And what happens when we focus on, hey, I'm not the thing I want to be? We stay focused on that. You get what you put your attention on. So when it comes to the identity, and we do this in our coaching program, right? We say things like, my identity is, hey, if you follow me on social media, guys, you know I've been running a lot, right? And yeah, I'm running a marathon, but I tell myself I am a runner. I am a leader. And if you're going after that new job, I am a VP of sales who works at a Fortune 500 company who every single day makes an impact. Choose your identity. Okay? Choose your identity. Who are you, man? Who are you? Who do you want to be? What's your identity? Because if you just get a little goal, right, and you maybe achieve it, you go back to the same person that you were. You have to change your identity to have real change. And what happens is with change, no matter what you're trying to do, guys, get a new job, nutrition, save money, let's make the big list, right? Travel, whatever. Here's what happens with change. It's freaking hard and it sucks. Anytime you try to change your life for the better, it's so freaking difficult because we're stuck in our old ways. So Jordan Peterson had a really good quote. What you want most to be found will be found where you least want to look. Let me repeat that. What you most want to be found fitness, this will be found where you least want to look. Oh, that's so good. And it's so interesting because it means if you're willing to turn around and stand up and stand straight and face the freaking darkness like fully, what you discover at that dark place is a bright light. Man, that was so powerful. What you most want to be found will be found where you least want to look. Amen, amen, amen. And it's so interesting because it means that if you're willing to stand up and stand up straight and face this darkness, because if you're approaching change in your life, man, you're gonna face darkness. But what you'll discover as you're going into that darkness is eventually you will find that bright light. But so many people quit so easily. So many people quit when they get a little bit of resistance. How can you ever do something truly inspiring without that? You can't. So let's get into it. Habit loops. If you're taking notes today, habit loops is what we're talking about. Each habit loop has 3 components. It has a cue, a routine, and a reward. This is so important. I just posted actually on LinkedIn, a couple days ago. It says, if I were to ever speak in front of a large audience, regardless of what convention it was, this is what I would be talking about, because this is going to have the most impact in your life. Are changing these habit loops, which are built on cues, routines, and rewards. Let me repeat that. Cues, routines, and rewards. To change a habit, you have to change your routine, because in every habit loop, here's what we have to understand too. The cue and the reward are linked. The cue and the reward are linked. The routine doesn't matter. When your brain gets a cue, it automatically thinks of the reward at once. Follow me for a second. So I wake up in the morning. Everybody does. They wake up to the cue of an alarm. Follow me for a sec. I wake up. I get the cue. My alarm goes off. Number 2, my alarm's going off. My typical routine, not Tim Madden's, right? The typical routine is to snooze it. The reward is you think you're helping yourself. Does that make sense? So the cue is tied to the reward. So if my alarm goes off, the reward is, hey, let me just, snooze it because I think I'm helping myself. So what we need to do when we want to change our cues, our routines, and our rewards, we can't change the cue, right? So someone I follow on TikTok, her name's Shelby something. She had a really good analogy. Let's talk about the alarm analogy, right? She says, if the cue is my alarm's going off, what is the routine? If the routine is hitting snooze, I need to change the routine. So what she coaches her clients on is when the alarm goes off, I'm trying to change the routine. So if it's snooze the alarm, I'm putting, and I need to drink water anyway, guys, I'm putting a glass of water next to my alarm. Let me take a drink real quick. She says, when I snooze my alarm, the routine I'm changing is, instead of hitting snooze right away, I'm drinking a glass of water. When you drink that glass of water, you essentially change your routine. And then this specific way, your brain starts to wake up a little bit and become more present. Then the reward, if you change that routine, would actually be getting up earlier and actually being more productive. Okay. Which we all know, getting up early for most people is one of the hardest things to freaking do, right? Because their habit loop is so stuck in a destructive phase. I don't know about you guys, but I know if you follow this, your directors, VPs, executives, you're busy, man. You got families, you got a lot of stuff going on. You got work trips. You're worried about budget meetings and holidays. Guys, we got too much going on. I don't know about you, but I'm assuming that all of you are just as busy as me. The only time I can really get to myself is no one's texting me, guys, at 5 o'clock and 5 to 8. No one's emailing me during that time. No one's calling me. No one's texting me. No one's DMing me on all the social platforms. So that time is for me to have me start my day right. So I encourage you to do this exercise and say, I want to change some habit loops. And here's what I need to break them down into: a cue, a routine, and a reward. Cue for most people, right? Not most people, sorry. For a large majority of people, cue, it's Friday after work. Friday after work. What's the typical routine? I don't know. Go to downtown with some work friends and have a couple beers. That's the routine. Okay. Nothing wrong with having a couple beers here and there, right? Every Friday night after work, that's the cue. The routine is, hey, I'm going to have some beers. What's the reward? Right? I don't know. Maybe enjoyment. But if you wanted to change that because you're not feeling good every Saturday morning, you're waking up with the hangover and the kids want to go freaking do stuff, etc., we have to change those cues or the routines. So if the typical cue is, hey, Friday after work, how can I change that routine? Hey, I'm going to read a book. I'm going to go spend time with the family. I'm going to think of after school activities. Hey, that's when I'm going to take my kids to the park. What's the reward of that? Probably better personal relationships, Now, again, I don't know what it is for you. We all struggle with different things, okay? We all struggle with different things. But if you know that something is bad for you right now, you need to write it down. You need to figure out what's the cue that's triggering this, what is my normal routine, and what's my perceived reward I get. And then start thinking about, how do I change that routine? Because you can't change the cue, right? Hey, Friday at work's going to happen. Hey, alarms are going to go off. You can't change the cue. You can only change the routine, right? And there's always something you can do in there to make it fun. For instance, maybe you don't like working on your job search right now. So maybe when you're cued to be like, oh, I need to work on this today, maybe the routine can be anytime I'm trying to get a hold of people or I'm working on job search activity. Maybe every time I spend an hour on my job search, now I get to watch 30 minutes of my favorite show. See how you can basically change your habits to basically incentivize yourself, right, on things that you really want. That is a way, and that's an incentive to basically potentially help you, okay? There's also different things out there that you can do to punish yourself, which, hey, Mel Robbins says, no one is your adult now. You are an adult, right? No one's going to police you up, okay? You are in charge of yourself. So basically, there's certain things that I have strict in my life, right? Or maybe you do something that you know is not good for you, and maybe there is a punishment because of that. Here's mine. I'm trying to stick away from alcohol as much as I can, right? Just because, hey, I know it's not good for my body. It just makes me feel like crap later. But sometimes, hey, I go to lots of training conferences, etc., dinners, ding, 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 where people are having drinks. And I'm like, hey, why not? Here's what I do to myself now. If Tim Madden ever has drinks one night, even one drink, I don't care if it's one drink or however many, I got a 10-mile run tomorrow. I say, hey, if it's so important to me to do the thing that I know ain't good for me, that I know is going to make me feel bad, I have to have a consequence to myself. I have to be an adult for myself. And if I'm going to choose in the behavior that I already said was not okay, right, most of the time, hey, what is the punishment for that then? So maybe you need something like that for you. Maybe you need, if I'm not working on my job search today, hey, I don't get to go out. I don't know what it is for you, right? Hey, I don't get to go out to eat for a week with my family. Hey, if I miss a job search day where I'm not actively trying to improve my situation, hey, I am not allowed to do whatever reward that I would normally do. You have to figure these things out for yourself because everyone's motivated by different things. Everyone has different rewards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I can tell you this, if you can master this habit loop, it will change your freaking life. Now, best advice, try not to make too many changes at once. For me, what I've been doing, okay, is I've been running now for several months. Of course, hey, you're probably tired of hearing this, right? I have some big goals with fitness this year. But me, I already know piling on too many changes at once is difficult for most people. So what I've been trying to stay consistent to for the past couple months is running 5 days a week, and I've nailed it. And now, since I've achieved that goal of running 5 days a week because I'm identifying myself as a runner, my new goal is after I run this half marathon at the end of the month, then I'm going to start trying to prioritize weight training for the next couple months. So I'm going to run and then also prioritize weight training. And then a couple months after that, then I'm going to relook at my nutrition plan. I eat pretty well now, right? I eat pretty good, but I need to get, to achieve more goals, you have to be more strict with diets and things of that nature. But I'm just making, right? Guys, let me tell you, it wasn't easy getting into a running rhythm. It's freaking hard. Now I love running. The habit loop has been destroyed. Okay. So now I'm moving on to, hey, how can I increase it? How can I be like 1% better every single day? You have to figure this out for you. You have to figure out your good habits, your bad habits, and how to change them. But if you can master your habits, you can achieve whatever freaking goal you have out there. And like I said before, if you can't do it for yourself, do it for your family. Okay. Do it to be the great role model for your son. The same son or daughter that you say, never give up, never quit, keep pushing. Set the standard for your children. That is my message for you today. Hey, best of luck in 2023, no matter what you're trying to accomplish. Hey, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Let me know what you're committed to this year. Let me know what habit loops you're trying to change. Let's all inspire each other this year to get better. As always, hey, I'm a broken record, but if you need help specifically in any component of your career, go on over to execupgrades.com/podcast. Until next week, hey, change your habits. Have a great life.